Hello and welcome to More Talks. I am W.C. Moore. This is part two of Biden's town hall from October 21st, 2021.
$1 trillion worth of expenditures for climate change.
$1 trillion worth of expenditures for climate change. That is ridiculous.
It's $150 billion. It's important. And what it says is that if, in fact, the utility doesn't pull back and continue to reduce the amount of carbon that they emit, that what will happen is they will end up paying a penalty. And so there's a penalty incurred.
You really think it'll be them paying a penalty? That penalty will be put down to us consumers. And so that's just another tax on us. Yes, your argument would be we tax the company, but you know that's going to be a tax on us.
Joe Manchin's argument is, look, we still have coal in my state. You're going to eliminate it eventually. We know it's going away. We know it's going to be gone. But don't rush it so fast that my people don't have anything to do. I think that's not what we should be doing. But the fact of the matter is, we can take that $150 billion, add it to the $320 billion.
The thing is, he's doing what he should be doing. He should be looking out for his constituents.
That's in the law now that he's prepared to support for tax incentives to have people act in a way that they're going to be able to do the things that need to be done. For example,
your party was complaining about tax incentives to get people like Amazon to move to states. So now you're happy about tax incentives? You as a party have to decide what you like and what you don't like, and don't just flip-flop depending on whether it's something that you're into or not.
If you got windows that are the wind's blowing through, you get an incentive to put new windows in your home. You help get it paid. We are going to significantly reduce the cost of solar panels on your roof. We're going to continually, and for example, there's new battery technologies that are being I went out in Silicon Valley. There's a battery that's about that wide and about that thick. If you have solar power, you put that in your basement, and the sun doesn't shine for 7 days, you still have all the power you need.
But the concession has been agreed to for Senator Manchin.
How much do those batteries cost? How much energy does it take to make those batteries? It's been proven that the life of an electric car it uses more fossil fuels than a life of a regular car. So how much energy is it taking to make these batteries?
About coal in his state. Is that true?
Nothing's been formally agreed to. The concession has been, the negotiation is, I've been saying to Joe, look, I'll take, if we don't do it in terms of the electric grid piece, what we'll do is give me that $150 billion. I'm going to add it to be able to do other things that allow me to do things that don't directly affect the electric grid in the way that there's a penalty, but allow me to spend the money to set new technologies in place. For example, we can save significant amounts of money and, as a consequence of that, significant amounts of energy if, in fact, we are able to put the high-tension wires underground. It costs a hell of a lot more to do it. It creates real good jobs. It creates a hell of a lot more to do it. But, in fact, it would do a lot to keep things from happening that are dangerous.
Like what? There's got to be something you've been told that it's better to put them in the ground.
Half the forest fires out west are those towers coming down.
Yeah. Half the forest fires out west are because the people in California refuse to go out and clean the underbrush because they don't want to hurt the home of a little mouse.
Fire, etc. So there's a lot of things. Joe is open to my convincing him that I can use it to increase environmental progress without it being that particular deal.
And, I want to just bring up the current labor market shortages. Millions of jobs are unfilled. Businesses are struggling to meet demand. Is there anything you can do to either encourage people to go back to work or make jobs more attractive?
Yes, you can quit unemployment benefits. Heck, quit all benefits until people start working.
They want to go back to work?
Yeah,
so
role
for the federal government?
First of all, we've created more jobs in the first 8 months of my administration than any president in American history.
Now, you still have less jobs than there was before the COVID pandemic. So you haven't created more jobs. More people have gone back to work during your administration because so many people got made unemployed during the COVID pandemic. So that's a bit disingenuous.
Total number of jobs created. But the problem for the people not going back to work is twofold. Number one, they're reluctant to go back to work because they're afraid of COVID.
Well, they should get the vaccine and then they'll be fine because vaccines protect people.
Many of them. So they don't want to go back and they don't want to be exposed either to the customers because they're not required to wear masks or not required to have shots.
It doesn't matter what the customer has. If you have the vaccine and this is a real vaccine, you're protected.
Or they don't want to go back because they're not sure the people waiting on them at the table or the people coming up in the food market. So a lot of it has to do with COVID.
Again, if you believe in the vaccine, take it, then you are covered.
Number one. Number two, and that's why, we were able to go from when I first was elected, there were only 2 million people who had COVID shots in the United States of America, had the vaccine. Now
that's a lie. More than 2 million people had COVID shots. I think there were 3 million people had both shots, and tens of millions of people had at least one shot. So it's not even, this part isn't even disingenuous. It's just a lie.
Now we got 190 million because I went out and bought everything I could do and buy in sight.
The shots were available before you got there. Trump got the shots available.
And it worked. But here's the deal. The second thing that's happened, Anderson, is that people are now using this as an opportunity to say, wait a minute, do I want to go back to that $7 an hour job?
But they shouldn't be living on government benefits while they're doing that. Take away the benefits and they'll get a job.
I won't name the particular restaurant chain, but they found out when they couldn't hire anybody, when they found out they started to pay $20 an hour, everybody wanted to go back to work. Not a joke. So
yes, it is a joke. Companies are offering that and people don't want to go to work. It's easier for them not to, or you've scared them into it.
What you see is wages are actually up for.
Yeah, wages are flying through the roof, which is going to cause more inflation. I mean, you are doing the country a disservice.
Those who are working, because for the first time in a long time, employees are able to bargain. You're the boss. You want me to work for you? What are you going to pay me? How are you going to do it? I'm not being facetious. The third thing that's out there is there's a circumstance that exists where people are really worried about what they're going to do. I mean, how can I say this? How many people do you know, and maybe some in this audience, who because of what you've been through, a loss of a husband, wife, brother, mother, father, son, whatever, or you've had something that's really impacted you with COVID, that you really find yourself just down. I mean, just down. And so there's a lot of people who are just down. They're not sure how to get back in the game.
And so it's okay for them to live on government benefits because they're feeling down?
They're not sure whether they want to get back in the game. Think of this. If you're graduating from Morgan State, okay? Well, guess what? You didn't have those great dances the last 4 years that you'd had before you went out and worked. No, I'm not joking. Graduated from high school. You don't have your prom. You don't have your graduation. You don't have all the things that matter to people that go into things they look forward to. So a lot of it has to do with us getting back on our feet and getting back on our feet in terms of our attitudes about what the future looks like for us.
What do you
Again, you need to be more positive. You have made people so scared that they're hiding in their houses.
say to someone who's down? Because there's a lot of people watching tonight who are.
Well, there are. I tell you what, there's plenty of help. Look, being down, having some problem in terms of needing some advice, if you have a broken spirit, it's no different than a broken arm. You shouldn't be ashamed of it. You should seek the help.
I agree. There should be more help for people with mental health issues. Definitely.
There's a lot of people who can help. And, but I really mean it. I'm not saying that's the whole problem. What I'm saying, it is an element in terms of attitude about people, what they want to do. Look, how often I get asked the question, what's Christmas going to be like? How about
Christmas should be normal. I'm going to have a normal Christmas with my family. I don't care what the government say.
Thanksgiving? Oh, is it going to be okay? I mean, what's going to happen? I mean, will I be able to buy gifts for my kids? There's a lot of anxiety
A lot of these people probably not, because they're not working.
people have.
I want to ask a question along the lines of concern about Christmas and holidays and the supply chain. Anna Hirsch is here, a student at Loyola University who's originally from Connecticut. She's a Democrat. Anna, what's your question?
Is there going to be any Republicans asking questions here? Or is it all going to be a bias towards the Democrats?
President Biden, growing up in a small town, I have been surrounded by small business owners, including my mom, who owns her own interior design business. With the current supply chain crisis, small businesses are in jeopardy of not being able to get products that they need because priority is given to large businesses. Does your administration have any policies or plans in place to aid the current supply chain problem and or to help small businesses that are affected by this?
Yes, on both.
He's probably going to say, I did a deal with the ports to get them through quicker, and I'll give money to small businesses.
But you have it exactly right. We have a significant supply chain problem. In the Obama-Biden administration, all American business, it made sense. It was just on time. You wanted to make sure that you didn't waste any money and or time between producing whatever you're producing and having it done.
That's because the government taxes them so much for buildings and things, so they don't have warehouses anymore. If the government didn't tax businesses much, these businesses that don't pay any tax, obviously, if government didn't tax these businesses much, they'd still have warehouses.
You didn't, so that's how you save money. You didn't buy the material 6 months ahead of time and then keep it in your inventory and then move. It was on time. Now that's a big problem. People can't do it. They want to get out ahead. What I've recently done, and people said, we doubted we could get it done. I was able to go to the private ports with 40% of all products coming into the United States of America on the West Coast go through Los Angeles and what am I doing here?
Is it Long Beach?
Long Beach.
Really? What are you doing here? You need to know what you're doing. This is not a hard question. This should not tax you at all. And what did I say? He's going to talk about the ports and blah, de, blah, de, blah, de, blah. Okay.
Thank you. And I know both the mayors. So I went to them and I said, what can we do? So I met with, and they're privately owned, these ports, these two. So I met with the business people. I met with all their major customers, the Walmarts of the world and all the rest. There are like 70 ships waiting out there unable to get unloaded.
They're unable to get unloaded because the ports have staffing issues, like everybody else.
So and because not always the longshoremen don't always get along with the business folks in there, I have a relationship with them, and I brought them together, and I said, you got to be open 24/7.
Open 24/7, no, but they only have half the staff in. So that's going to be the same amount of work, just over a longer period of time.
No port there was open 5 days a week, 40 hours a week, 24/7. They've all agreed to it. They've agreed to it.
Would you consider the National Guard to help with the supply chain issue?
Absolutely, positively. I will do that. But in addition to that, what you got to do is you got to get these ships in and unloaded. And one of the things in my infrastructure plan, there's $16 billion for port expansion.
Why do we need port expansion? These are private ports. They should be paying for that themselves. And what are you doing expanding the port when you can't even staff the ones you've got?
We have to be able to move things along, because what's happening is a product your mother may need for interior design in terms of drapery or colors or something that is imported.
Well, don't import it. Make things in America. Produce things in America. You are the president of America. You should be supporting make things in America. You should be giving companies tax breaks if they made things in America instead of taxing them more.
From somewhere else. Well, guess what? A lot of these places, particularly in South Asia, are closing down because of COVID. The businesses are just flat closing.
So would you consider the National Guard for trucking, because there's a lot of problems with not enough truck drivers right now?
There's plenty of truck drivers, Anderson. Don't you lie to the president and confuse him.
That's why what we're doing now.
Do you have a timetable for that?
Well, I have a timetable to, first of all, I want to get the ports up and running and get the railroads and the railheads and the trucks in port ready to move, because I've gotten Walmart and others to say we're going to move stuff off of the port into our warehouses.
So, you're actually talking about having National Guardsmen or women driving trucks?
The answer is yes, if we can't move to increase the number of truckers, which we're in the process of doing.
Okay.
If we did it,
there is still plenty of truckers. Try driving around at night and there's no parking at truck stops. There's no parking at rest areas. Trucks have to park illegally, or truck drivers, I should say, have to park illegally. There are plenty of trucks. Get more people working in the port and get that stuff out of there. Truckers spend half their day waiting around on people. Tidy that up and get people moving, and you'll see a big difference.
at this moment, we're not. But the whole point is we've got to get to small business as well, because the big guys are in trouble. And a lot of the product.
Who cares about the big guys? They're rich enough to be able to afford to lose a bit.
That your mother makes, the product the things she does in her interior design building, the material she buys from larger outfits. I assume, I don't know that. But my
You know what assumption is? She might buy it straight from the person who makes it.
whole point is small businesses need the help badly. Small businesses make up 60% of all the revenue coming from business out there.
I want to bring in Linda Harris. She's from Elk Ridge, Maryland. She's a software project manager, Democrat. Linda, what's your question?
Hey, President Biden.
Hey.
My middle-class family of 4 lives on a pretty tight budget. My husband and I both work full-time at well-paying jobs, but we still struggle some months to make the ends meet. With rising gas prices and utility prices and grocery prices, we're feeling our
See, notice anything there? Every price is rising. That's because of inflation.
discretionary income get squeezed and reduced. What plans does the administration have to help ease this kind of current crunch we're feeling?
Well, there's a number of things that have already been done. And it's hard, and people don't think about it. The American Rescue Plan has provided for an awful lot. The $1.9 billion we passed right after I got elected.
See, you've already spent $1.9 billion. You're spending like a drunken sailor.
So what you got is you got that $1,400 check in the mail. You got a lot of things that help ameliorate some of the concerns and costs, because we knew what we were coming into. We knew we had inherited the wind, and things were going to get worse before they got better. But
you didn't inherit this. You created this, especially the gas prices, by stopping drilling in the U.S. The U.S. was energy independent, and now they're having to buy again from the Middle East.
in terms of being able to have what my dad used to say, a little breathing room. Just a little, my dad busted his neck. He didn't have a good paying job. My dad was a well-read, high school educated guy who thought his greatest sin in the world was he didn't get to go to college. But my dad was one of those guys that worked like hell, come home for dinner, and then he'd go back and finish up work and close the shop. And the whole point of it was that all we want to give, all he'd talk about, he said, Joey, all I need is just a little breathing room, a little space, a little space.
Let me ask you about that, with just in terms of inflation, because you had told
Look, Anderson, he's trying to answer a question. Let him answer the question.
Us at a town hall, I think it was in July, that this was just near-term inflation. The Wall Street Journal recently talked to like 67 financial experts who said that they saw high inflation going all the way or deep into 2022. Do you think it's going to last for a while?
I don't think so. I don't think it will last if, depending what we do. If we stay exactly where we are, yes. If we don't make these investments, yes.
What about
But again, spending more money, printing more money will make inflation go higher. It's basic economics.
gas prices? Because some states are seeing.
Gas prices relate to a foreign policy initiative that is about something that goes beyond the cost of gas. And we're
No, gas pricing went up as soon as you stopped the drilling. Drill, drill, drill. Get the oil out of American soil and get it into the market. Sell the oil instead of buying the oil.
We're about $3.30 a gallon most places now, when it's up from, was down in the single digits. I mean, a dollar plus. And that's because of the supply being withheld
Exactly, but you can do it yourself. Drill yourself.
by OPEC. And so there's a lot of negotiation that is, there's a lot of Middle Eastern folks want to talk to me. I'm not sure I'm going to talk to them, but the point is, it's about.
Really? So you're saying that the only way to get gas prices down is by talking to OPEC, but you won't talk to them? Are you actually listening to what you say here?
Gas production. There's things we can do in the meantime, though.
Do you think there's a? I mean, do you have a timeline for gas prices of when you think they may start coming down?
My guess is you'll start to see gas prices come down as we get by and going into the winter, into next year in 2022. I don't see anything that's going to happen in the meantime that's going to significantly reduce gas prices.
Drilling will significantly reduce gas prices. And what makes you think gas prices will go down in 2022?
But, for example, for natural gas to heat your homes as winter's coming, there's a lot, what people don't realize, we put in billions of dollars in what they call LIHEAP. LIHEAP is the provision whereby you're able to get funding from the federal government based upon your need to heat your home.
See, again, more government spending. Get the hell out of my life.
And it's subsidized in a significant way. And there's billions of dollars we have passed in the legislation I got passed in March of this year, because we anticipated that would be a problem as well. But the answer ultimately meaning the next 3 or 4 years, is investing in renewable energy. What I was able to do, by the way, I'm being literal when I say this. What I was able to do when I ran, and you remember, Anderson, because I was on your show a couple times, and the issue was whether or not I could ever get the labor union to support my environmental programs. And I went out and I went to the IBEW as well to the auto workers. And I laid out my plan. They fully embraced it. Why? Because now, and I spent time as General Motors.
You probably, as a Democratic Party, gave them a lot of money to embrace it.
And other companies, and I got General Motors. I didn't get them. General Motors decided after a long time spent talking to me, they were suing California because they had a higher standard, mileage standard.
Right.
They dropped the suit and agreed that they would be 50% electric vehicles by 2030. By 2030, and now you have all three.
Again, from birth to death, electric vehicles use more carbon and use more fossil fuels than non-electric vehicles.
3 major manufacturers saying the same thing. So what will happen is you're going to see a dramatic drop in what's going to happen in terms of gas prices as we go into the next 2 or 3 years, even if we're not able to break the monopoly price. They're keeping it up because, anyway. So there's.
Again, it's not a monopoly if you drill. If you drill, make your own gas, then you can do what Trump did and get gas prices or keep gas prices low.
But I must tell you, I don't have a near-term answer. There's 2 things I could do. I could go in the petroleum reserve and take out and probably reduce the price of gas maybe 18 cents or so a gallon. It's still going to be above $3.
That's going to help a lot of people. I mean, you may not care about 18 cents a gallon, but we do.
And one of the things that I refused to have happen, because I didn't want anybody, I made a commitment, if you pass the stuff I'm talking about, not one single penny in tax would go against anybody making less than 400 grand. And so if you notice, these highway bills are not paid for by gas tax. They're paid for by direct expenditures in other areas. So the average person doesn't have to pay more. But it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. There's a possibility to be able to bring it down. Depends on a little bit on Saudi Arabia and a few other things that are in the offing.
It doesn't have to depend on them. Get the oil yourself.
I want to introduce Nejma Donner, a professor and social worker at the University of Maryland, Baltimore. She's an independent and mother of 2 young boys. We're going to be talking about COVID. Nejma, what's your question?
Thank you for taking my question, President. When will the vaccines for young children be ready, and how accessible will they be once
Why do you want to poison your kids?
released?
I believe, and I want to make it clear, unlike past administrations, science will dictate this. I'm not telling.
Now that's another lie. Fauci has lied from the beginning, and he said it's all science. So if you're listening to him, you're lying.
Anyone, and then I really mean it. But I do ask my COVID team what the expectations are. The expectations are to be ready in the near term, meaning weeks, not months and months. Okay, that's number one. Number two, there are over 800,000 sites right now that exist in America where you can go get a vaccine. And you're going to be able to do that with your children. Particularly, we're going to try to work it out to deal with child care centers, make it available there, as well as your pediatricians and the docs, and finding places where you can do it. Some places are talking about doing that, in churches on the weekend and that kind of thing.
Why are you trying to vaccinate children where it has been proven that children have the greatest chance of surviving COVID? And if they have natural immunity, that is stronger than any immunity that a vaccine could give them.
So there'll be plenty of places to be able to get the vaccine if and when it is approved. And it's likely to be approved. I've spent a lot of time with the team on these things. It's likely to be approved, and whether it's Moderna or whether it's Pfizer or whether it's J&J, it's going to be approved, and it'll be a much smaller dose, basically the same dose, but a smaller dose. And they're doing a lot of tests on it right now. And those of you who have children or brothers or sisters who are between, 12.
Is this regular approval or is this still emergency approval? But there's a big difference between the two.
Get the vaccine for them. Get the vaccine. Get it now.
Let me ask you, Mr. President.
By the way, there's 2 famous guys in this audience here, I just noticed. Ben Cardin and Chris Van Hollen. And the mayor. Holy mackerel. This is a busman's holiday for you guys, having to come and hear me. But thank you.
Mr. President, let me ask you a follow-up about that. As many as 1 in 3 emergency responders in some cities like Chicago, Los Angeles, right here in Baltimore, are refusing to comply with city vaccine mandates. I'm wondering where you stand on that. Should police officers, emergency responders, be mandated to get vaccines? And if not, should they stay at home or let go?
Yeah.
No one should be mandated to get a vaccine. All these pro-abortion people are my body, my choice. And when it comes to vaccine, you must poison yourself. What about my body, my choice?
Yes and yes. By the way, I waited until July to talk about mandating because I tried everything else possible. The mandates are working. All the stuff about people leaving and people getting it, you have everyone from United Airlines to Spirit, all these airlines. We're not going to get all 96, 97% of the people have gotten the vaccine. All the talk about...
Most people get the vaccine until you mandate it. And then they say, I'm not going to be ordered by the government. So you are stopping people from getting it by mandating it. US Airlines had a walkout a few weeks ago because they mandated it.
All these folks who are going to leave the military if they're mandated. Not true. You got about a 90-some% vaccination rate. I mean,
That's because you mandate it in the military, and the people in the military actually have to do what you say.
so the idea is that, look, the two things that concern me, one are those who just try to make this a political issue. Freedom. I have the freedom to kill you with my COVID.
If you're vaccinated and these are true vaccines, then I won't kill you with my COVID. Because you're vaccinated to it.
No, I mean, come on. Freedom.
Are you honestly saying you don't believe in freedom? What the hell are you doing as President of the United States then?
Number one. Number two, the second one is that, the gross misinformation that's out there. Like what they're saying about my buddy Colin Powell, and he was my friend. He passed away. Colin Powell was vaccinated and he still died. Well, he knew he had serious underlying conditions and it would be difficult. He clearly would have been gone earlier had he not gotten the vaccine.
Why? Please show this evidence that he would clearly have gone earlier.
Had he not gotten the shots. But my generic point is there's so much misinformation. You know
I know, and most of it is coming from you and Fauci.
what I find fascinating? I turn on Fox to find out how popular I am. But
How are you doing there?
I'm doing very well. I think I'm at 3% favorable. But all kidding aside, one of the things I find, do you realize they mandate vaccinations?
At Fox headquarters.
Yeah.
Okay, they're a private company. They can.
I find that mildly fascinating.
You find that mildly fascinating.
Mildly fascinating.
This is a lot longer than I thought it would be. This is the end of part 2, and part 3 will be out tomorrow.